Happy Monday morning, my twisted family. How is everybody this morning? I'm going to pop this on real quick because Eva's right. I had it up in the background and Lauren Crime had hot mic going. So let's see if it's still going. Hold on. Honey, oh, you're the best. You're the best. We even have captions to some of it at the bottom if you check the captions. Good morning. Okay. Interesting. Damn it. I have some juicy shit. Not getting really anything juicy, but it is a hot mic. But good morning, my family. I'm going to turn that down a little just because we do have the captions that will pick up if they say something. We have that, the captions. See, the captions will pop up if they say something. So at least anything that the mic can pick up. OMG, I can't. That's hilarious. So, last night, while I was fast asleep, because I'm fucking old, and I go to bed, and not at 1 a.m, there was some events that happened last night. So I woke up this morning to see that somebody was being harassed. Amy was being harassed via phone calls, on live stream. And of course, the number was spread out to the cult so that they could do the same. Utterly disgraceful behavior, per usual. It's not something that I would ever condone. I don't know why anybody condones it. It's disgusting behavior to put somebody's phone number out there to a mob of people who you know are then going to harass that person, but also to do it to someone who is a witness against you. That's probably not very smart. Probably not very smart. Yeah, Taylor, I agree. It's yeah. I saw some of our people over there too, but I don't ever have a a minute to go to these places ahead of time and be like, "Oh, I'm going to be live," and not everybody has the notifications on. So, hey Aurora. No, Christina. So, here's the weird part. She is a witness against him, but it does involve the witness intimidation. That pertains to this case as well. So it's kind of a clusterfuck, but she is a witness against him. That is witness intimidation. I don't know if he's wants to go to jail. I'm not really understanding. But I want all of you at least to maybe give a couple encouraging words to Amy, because nobody deserves to have to deal with that. No one. and I mean no one. And I am in contact with Amy. She was once an admin of his, and obviously when things got to the point where it was criminal, she didn't want a part of it. She stood up against him and then was harassed. That's kind of how it works. When you see things going on that are not right and you say something, you're now public enemy number one. But she's a witness against him. It's not very smart. You could get your bail revoked, and I absolutely hope that they revoke it. Because if they don't revoke it, I don't really know what the fuck they're doing over there. We're talking about the jurors' pictures that were put out, but he retweeted and then deleted. And then now this witness intimidation. It's like, how many witness intimidation charges do you want exactly? You going for a cool 100, sir? It's quite a bit, That's right, exactly. Instead of what's easy, Amy's a good person. She doesn't deserve that, and she was very brave to sort of stand up, and it takes guts. And it also takes a brave person to apologize when they've been wrong. Amy was one of those people who apologized to me, and I think it's extremely brave of someone to admit they're wrong, and also in the face of such a mob, but you have the balls to apologize. That makes you a bigger person in my eyes. I have much more respect for people who are willing to apologize to someone they may have said something or done something to that isn't, right. Right? The Breakfast Club. Yeah, I mean, definitely pushing the envelope, Eva. Damn it, every time I think we're going to get something juicy on that mic, it's inaudible.
I do know why. At some point, yes, no. I stupidly do.
Yeah, they're not talking about anything of substance over there. Sorry, I was checking on that hot mic. But I think it's important for her to know that she's not alone. And we have a great community over here. We have an amazing family over here. And I think some words of wisdom and some encouragement can go a long way when you think you're being targeted. Been there, done that. Morning, Kings. I got to change these bubbles again. I don't know why it just doesn't set the way I want it to set. It's kind of aggravating. We're waiting for this to start. But I do, oh, hold on. Here comes Judge Cannoni. Let me turn it up.
You are unmuted.
Let's hope that time is now, Aurora. Let's hope that point in time where he's pushed too far is right now, because the longer that he stays out, the more people he harms. And I can't help but feel like the Commonwealth is responsible at some point for it.
Tori.
For not locking his ass up. Did you guys see the picture of Hank? Well, my AI picture of Hank that's on my thumbnail. The Superman Hank. I was like, thanks, AI. Appreciate that. We don't need to be that close to Judge Cannoni's face. Lauren Crime, back it up a little. I just call it the thing on his face. Yeah, the time is definitely past, I think. Hank. I feel like he's like Jerry Springer, but he's got to wrangle all of these monstrosity critters. So he's kind of like Jerry Springer. Hank. Hey, Maestro. You are like the edit master, Maestro. I'm going to have to learn some tricks of the trade from you. The only editing I've ever done is my intro and my outro. Those are the first 2 tries of editing I've ever done in my life, and I think they're pretty good. They're pretty decent for a beginner, that's for sure. But those were like my first 2 tries ever, and the only 2 things I've ever edited. I didn't see it yet. I'm gonna have to check that out. What are we waiting for? The judge is still standing. The clerks are standing. Like, what the fuck are they waiting for? Jurors? I mean, there's nothing you need to say before these jurors come in, I think. Like, come on, there's got to be something. You know what? Maybe he shows up at the courthouse. Maybe they arrest him there, charge him. Just saying. If he does show up, there's a good chance he could be arrested. Hey, Richard. I love when people figure out how to comment on X. Makes me happy because it's hard to figure out how to comment on X. Not everybody knows how to do it. I know, right?
All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly County. Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court, before the County of Norfolk. Your name, your attendance, you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Court is now open. Jurors remain standing. All the parties may be seated.
Jurors, could you raise your right hands, please?
No, a different judge would deal with it.
Answers to such questions as you put forth to you by the court, so help you God. Thank you. You can have a seat. Judge, may I call the case?
Please.
Judge, this is 2282CR117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Can I have counsel identify themselves for the record, starting with the Commonwealth?
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Adam Lally for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Hank Brennan for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Mr. Brennan.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jackson on behalf.
That's not
Good
even
morning,
it,
Mr.
Leon.
Jackson.
It's some witness intimidation last night.
Good morning, Ms. Little.
Morning, Your Honor. Robert Leslie on behalf of this brief.
Good morning, Mr. Leslie.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Kennedy.
Good morning, Ms. Giannetti. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Victoria Burton.
Good morning, Ms. George. Good morning, Ms. Reed. All right, and good morning, jurors. My name's Beverly Canoni. I'm a judge of this court, and I want to welcome you here today and give you some idea on how we think your day will shape up. You're here for impanelment in a criminal case that you've heard, and we appreciate you being here. Jury service is one of the most important civic duties that we have, and we understand that we're taking you away from your families or jobs, and we really appreciate that you're here, ready, willing, and able to serve if you're called upon to do so. And we also appreciate your patience with this proceeding. So this is the case of Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. The Commonwealth alleges that at approximately 6 a.m. on the morning of January 29, 2022, the Canton Police Department received a 911 call reporting an unresponsive male party in the snow outside a residence at 34 Fairview Road in that town. Officers responded and discovered the man, later identified as John O'Keefe, off the roadway in the front lawn area. Officers identified 3 women with Mr. O'Keefe, one of whom was the defendant, Karen Reed, the girlfriend of Mr. O'Keefe. The defendant had been with Mr. O'Keefe the previous evening at 2 different bars in Canton and had driven with him to this residence in the early morning hours of this date. Mr. O'Keefe was treated by paramedics from the Canton Fire Department and transported to the Good Samaritan Medical Center, where he was later pronounced deceased. The Commonwealth alleges that the defendant struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle earlier that morning and then left the scene while Mr. O'Keefe lay injured in the snow during a blizzard. The defendant denies these allegations. She is presumed to be innocent and has pled not guilty. The defendant is charged with second-degree murder. She is also charged with manslaughter while operating under the influence and leaving the scene after causing personal injury or death. I will describe those crimes in greater detail at the end of the case when I teach the juror the law, but briefly, murder is the unlawful killing of a human being. There are various ways in which the Commonwealth can prove a murder case, and the Commonwealth is permitted to proceed under all theories it believes it can prove. Here, the Commonwealth alleges that the defendant committed murder and that that murder was murder in the second degree. In order to prove the defendant guilty of second-degree murder, the Commonwealth must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Ms. Reed committed an unlawful killing
She did.
and that it was done with malice.
It was.
In comparison, involuntary manslaughter is an unintentional, unlawful killing caused by wanton or reckless conduct.
Which it was.
These terms and the elements of the crimes will be explained to you in detail at the end of the case before you begin your deliberations. Now, at the outset, I would like to address the issue of public interest in this case and the duty of this court to adhere to the rule of law. John Adams said that we are a government of laws, not of men, and that the law must be deaf to the clamoring of the public. He meant that while public opinion about a given subject may ebb and flow, the law must be steady, reliable, and even-handed. We know that on the subject of this case, there are people advocating for one outcome or another with intensity, but without the benefit of having heard or seen any evidence at all. The law works in a different way, and the difference is crucial to our system of justice. The jurors selected for this trial will hear and judge the evidence. They will decide what the facts are. Where the evidence is contested, they will determine where the truth lies. Ultimately, the jury will decide whether the Commonwealth has carried its burden of proving that Ms. Reed is guilty of any crime beyond a reasonable doubt. People outside of this building have rights, and we know that they have voices, but this criminal trial will be decided by an independent jury, free from outside interference, based only upon the evidence presented in this courtroom and the law. This is the only way to ensure that every person who comes before the court receives a fair trial. It is just that simple and that important. So, while public comment will likely continue, the rule of law will be upheld. In order to determine your eligibility to serve on this case, I'm going to ask questions to you all as a group, and then I'm going to ask you to fill out a supplemental questionnaire. We have found that the use of this questionnaire is helpful for several reasons. First, there are some personal questions on it, and we ask that you be candid. In addition, the process of filling out the questionnaire provides the opportunity to be more reflective as you answer the questions, rather than being put on the spot and asked to give immediate answers. After you fill out the questionnaire, we will have you come up to the sidebar one at a time so that we can follow up with you on your answers to the questionnaire and to my questions. I want to thank you in advance for your patience as we go through this process. As you may know, the lawyers for the parties participate in the selection of the jury. Under our law, each of the parties has the right to exercise what we call juror challenges. This means that each party has the right to challenge a certain number of prospective jurors for any reason or for no reason at all. Therefore, some of you may be excused during the impanelment procedure. If you're not selected for jury service on this case, please don't take it personally. Don't think that somehow we think you're not a fair person. It's not a reflection on you at all. You will be directed back to the jury room and perhaps picked on another case later. In a few minutes, I will pose a number of questions to you as a group. You have taken an oath that requires you to truthfully answer those questions and all questions posed to you. If your answer to any question is yes, I will ask that you raise your hand and hold up your juror card in the air with the numbers facing out. You don't need to get your cards out yet. I'll tell you when you can, when we need to have those cards out. So you hold the card up in the air until the court officer can read the number from the card. The fact that you answer yes to one of my questions does not mean that you're automatically disqualified from jury service. It simply means that there are matters that the lawyers and I need to discuss with you at sidebar. If you find a question posed to the group overly intrusive, you may elect to answer that question at sidebar. I will have additional questions for you which relate to issues that may be raised in this trial. and are designed to give us more information regarding your ability to serve as a fair and impartial juror, and the lawyers are permitted to ask you questions for the same reason. This is not a test. There is no right or wrong answer. We simply want your best and honest answer to the questions. I'm now going to ask the lawyers to introduce themselves, and I'm going to ask counsel for the defense to introduce their client. Starting with the Commonwealth, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hank Brennan. I represent the Commonwealth of Massachusetts along with me, your colleagues.
Good morning, my name is Laura McLaughlin. I'm the Assistant District Attorney for the Norfolk District Attorney's Office. Welcome, good morning, thank you for being here.
Morning, my name is Adam Lally, Assistant District Attorney with the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, represent the Commonwealth. Thank you for your time and attention today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Jackson. I have the honor and privilege to represent Karen Reed, who is standing to my right.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Elizabeth Little, and I also have the privilege of representing Ms. Reed.
Good morning. Thank you for coming and for your time today. My name is Robert Alessi, and I have the privilege of representing Ms. Reed.
Good morning. My name is David Unetti. I'm an attorney. I have offices in Boston and right here in Dedham. My honor to represent Karen Reed.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I'm
Honor.
Jessica Wilson, and I have the privilege of representing Ms. Reed.
Good morning, I'm Karen Reed. Thank you for being here.
Why is
Okay,
she?
thank you all.
Again, the judge last time said she shouldn't
Folks, I'm going to read the witness
be
list
introducing
to you.
herself, or judges
There
should.
are a lot of names on this list. It doesn't mean that each one of these people will be called as jurors.
Yeah, his free
It
commercial.
just means that you may hear their names referenced during the course of the trial. So it's important that you
Lotion on
listen
the
closely
skin,
to
there
the
gets
names.
the hose
At
again.
some point soon, I'm going to ask you whether you know any of these folks. So please listen carefully. They're alphabetical
God.
by first name. Aidan Kearney from Jefferson, Massachusetts. Dr. Isaac Wolf from South Miami, Florida. Alfred Lopalato from Canton. Allison McCabe from Canton. Andre Porto from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab.
God, this list.
Andrew Klain from Bridgewater. Andrew Rentschler, PhD from Pittsburgh,
They do sound
Pennsylvania.
like fools.
Angela Malvone from Canton, Mass. Annie Chung, also from Canton. Anthony Flamati from the Canton Fire Department. Ashley Bell, Canton. Ashley Villiers from the State Police Crime Lab. Brian Albert, Norwood. Brian Albert Jr., Boston. Brian Higgins from Sandwich. Brian Loughran from Canton. Brian Wanless, who is retired from the Canton Police Department. Bridget Meehan, keeper of the records from Canton. Caitlin Albert from Easton. Lieutenant Charles Ray of the Canton Police Department. Chief of the Canton Police, Helena Rafferty. Chris Van E., who is a PhD from Novi, Michigan. Christina Hanley from the State Police. Christopher Albert from Canton. Christopher Curran from Canton.
Maestro, that's
Colleen
hilarious.
Crawford from the Norfolk DA's office. Colin Albert from Canton. Courtney Proctor, Canton. Kurt Roberts, Canton. Daniel Whitley from the Canton Fire Department. Daniel Wolf, who's a PhD from Penns Park, Pennsylvania. Derek Ellington from Wake Forest, North Carolina. Dr. Marie Russell from Los Angeles, California. Dr. Elizabeth LaPosada, who's from Providence. Elizabeth Proctor from Canton. Eric Hanlon, Canton. Erin Beatty, Canton. Erin O'Keefe from West Bridgewater. Francis Walsh from the Canton Fire Department. Garrett Wing from Green Cove Springs, Florida. Gary Fowler from Brockton. Gregory Woodbury from the Canton Fire Department. Gretchen Voss from Boston. Hannah Knowles from the State Police Crime Lab. Heather Maxon from Walpole, Mass. Erabito Hernandez from the Boston Police Department. Holly Price from Mountain View, California. Ian Whiffen from Vienna, Virginia. Dr. Irene Scorti-Bello, she's from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, Massachusetts. James Crosby, who's a PhD from Jacksonville, Florida. Janet Reed from Dighton, Mass. Jason Becker from the Canton Fire Department. Jean Demoulas from Canton. Jennifer McCabe from Canton. Jessica Hyde from Bridgeport, New York. John O'Keefe Sr., who lives in Braintree. Judson Welcher, who's a PhD from a company named Aperture LLC. Julie Albert from Canton, Julie Nagel from Canton, Justin Rice, who is a physician from South Weymouth, 2 juveniles from Canton, one of whom has the initials KF and the other is PF, Caitlin Boudreau from Raynham, Karina Kolakithis from Canton, Katie Camerano from Canton, Katie McLaughlin from the Canton Fire Department, the keeper of the records for Ring from Hawthorne, California, Kerry Curran from Canton, Kerry Roberts, Canton, Kevin Albert, Canton, Kevin O'Hara from the Mass State Police, Lance Mello from the State Police Crime Lab, Laura Sullivan from Pembroke, Laura Cahill from Worcester, Leslie Pearlstein from Canton, Lieutenant Michael Lant from the Canton Fire Department, Louis Jutras from Canton, Lieutenant Brian Tully from the Mass State Police, Lieutenant John Fanning from the Mass State Police, Lieutenant Paul Gallagher from the Canton Police Department, Maggie Gaffney from Bonita Springs, Florida, Mark Lopalato from Canton, Margaret O'Keefe, also from Canton, Marietta Sullivan from Pembroke, Mary Souza from Dighton, Matthew Amory from Canton, Matthew DeSogra from Charlotte, North Carolina, Matthew Erickson from Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan, Matthew Kelly from the Canton Fire Department, Matthew Kelsch from the FBI, Matthew McCabe from Canton, Maureen Harnett from the State Police Crime Lab, Megan Mariani from New York, New York, Michael Camerano from Canton, Michael Easter from Los Angeles, Michael Trotter from the Canton Public Works Department, Michael Wagner, Foxborough, Mike Maroli, Bridgewater, Mike Rushworth from Thompson Station, Tennessee, Natalie Wyweek Berschneider from San Marino, California, Nathan Reed from Raynham, Nicholas Bradford from Lorton, Virginia, Nicholas Curran from West Roxbury, Nicholas Kolakithis from Canton, Nicole Albert from Norwood, Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey, Officer Kelly Deaver from the Boston Police Department, Officer Nicholas Barrows from the Dighton Police Department, Patrick Haggerty from Somerset, Paul Mikowski from Melrose, Paul O'Keefe from Canton, Rebecca Bisen from Canton, Rebecca Trayers, Norfolk, Dr. Renee Stonebridge, she also is from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner in Boston, Richard Green from St. Pete Beach, Florida, Richard Donatno from Canton, Robert Gilman from Hull, Ryan Nagel, Canton, Sarah Levinson, Canton, Sergeant Brian Gallerini, the Needham Police Department, Sergeant Sean Good, the Canton Police Department, Sergeant Paul D. Giampetro from the Canton Police Department, Sergeant Yuri Buchanan from the Mass State Police, Shannon Burgess from South Lake, Texas, Cheryl Waugh from Canton, Sophie Herzan, the State Police Crime Lab, Stephanie Devlin, State Police Crime Lab, Stephen Mullaney, Canton Police Department, Steve Nelson, the Norfolk County DA's office, Stephen Bernstein, who is a keeper of the records from Stoughton, Stephen Ridge, the Boston Police Department, Stephen Seraph, Canton Police Department, Stephen Scanlon from West Roxbury, Terry Kuhn from Davis, California, Tess Chart from Lorton, Virginia, Thomas Beatty from Canton, Thomas Kelleher from Canton, Thomas Martin from Weymouth, Timothy Nuttall from the Canton Fire Department, Tristan Morris, Easton. The following people are Mass State Police troopers: Trooper Connor Keefe, Trooper David DeChico, Trooper Evan Brent, Trooper Jeffrey Koskowski, Trooper Joseph Paul, Trooper Kathleen Prince, Trooper Michael Proctor, Trooper Nicholas Guarino, Trooper Zachary Clark, Wendell Robery from Canton, and William Reed from North Dartmouth. I'm sorry. North Dighton. So those are the list of witnesses. You're likely not to hear from all of them, but you will hear from many of them. And you can tell that this case is going to take a while to try. So we're in the process of impaneling a jury. We don't know how long this process will take. Once we get a jury, the lawyers tell me that their best estimate is that the evidence in the case will take between 6 and 8 weeks for the evidence. What we do is every day I will let you know if at the end of the day, if the case is on track or a little ahead of schedule or behind schedule, and I have never had to say that we were behind schedule in a case. So we all appreciate your time and know how long this will take. So we do everything we can not to waste any of your time. There'll be a few days off here and there sprinkled throughout this long trial. The schedule that we will have is we will start each morning at 9 o'clock. We'll take a break around 11 for 15 or 20 minutes. Lunch will be about 45 minutes. We'll have lunch brought in for you folks so that you don't have to walk down and take any longer than we need. And we'll have it brought into you every day. Then we'll go after lunch until about 4 o'clock each day. So that's the schedule that we have. It's a good faith estimate. Sometimes trials go longer, sometimes they go shorter, but it's the best estimate that we have regarding how long it will take. So it might help now if I give you a preview about some basic law that applies to all criminal cases. It's my job to teach the jury the law, and I don't do that completely until the end of the trial. So for now, I'll give you a very brief summary of some of the very important legal principles that will govern this trial. First, and most basically, the defendant starts this trial presumed to be innocent. The fact that she was arrested or was indicted is not proof of anything. An indictment is just a piece of paper. It just makes an accusation. An indictment is merely a formal manner in which to get a case against a person who's accused of a crime to come to trial in the Superior Court. But it is only the jury, in other words, you folks, who ultimately decides whether the prosecution has proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. If the Commonwealth does not do that, then the presumption of innocence requires you to find Ms. Reed not guilty. The law does not require a defendant to prove her innocence, to produce any evidence whatsoever, or to do anything other than attend the trial. This presumption of innocence remains with the defendant until you, the jury, make your determination after listening and considering all of the evidence. Another important principle of law is that the defendant has an absolute right then not to testify, since the entire burden of proof in this case is on the Commonwealth to prove that she is guilty. Under our system of law, a defendant has a perfect right to say to the government, you accuse me, now you prove it, and prove it beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. I do not have to say a word. The jury must not consider in any way the fact that a defendant testifies or not testifies, because it has nothing to do with the question of whether she is guilty or not guilty. The jurors must determine whether the Commonwealth has proved its case beyond the defendant, beyond a reasonable doubt, based solely on the testimony of the witnesses and the exhibits introduced at trial. That brings me to the requirement of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. What is proof beyond a reasonable doubt? The term is often used and probably pretty well understood, though it is not easily defined. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean proof beyond all possible doubt, for everything in the lives of human beings is open to some possible or imaginary doubt. A charge is proved beyond a reasonable doubt if, after you have compared and considered all of the evidence, you have in your minds an abiding conviction to a moral certainty that the charge is true. When we refer to moral certainty, we mean the highest degree of certainty possible in matters relating to human affairs, based solely on the evidence that has been put before you in a case. I have told you that every person is presumed to be innocent unless and until he or she is proved guilty, and that the burden of proof is on the Commonwealth. If you evaluate all the evidence and you still have a reasonable doubt remaining, the defendant is entitled to the benefit of that doubt and must be acquitted. It is not enough for the Commonwealth to establish a probability, even a strong probability, that the defendant is more likely to be guilty than not guilty. That is not enough. Instead, the evidence must convince you of the defendant's guilt to a reasonable and moral certainty, a certainty that convinces your understanding and satisfies your reason and judgment as jurors who are sworn to act conscientiously on the evidence. This is what we mean by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Our system of justice depends on judges like me and jurors like you being able and willing to make careful and fair decisions. All people deserve fair and equal treatment in our system of justice, regardless of their race, national origin, religion, age, ability, gender, sexual orientation, education, income level, or any other personal characteristic. You have agreed to be fair, and I am sure that you want to be fair, but that is not always easy. One difficulty comes from our own built-in expectations and assumptions. They exist even if we're not aware of them, and even if we believe we do not have them. Some of you may have heard this called implicit bias, and that is what I'm talking about. Of course, we judges have the same problem as everyone else, so let me share a few strategies that we have found useful. First, slow down. Do not rush to a decision. Hasty decisions are more likely to reflect stereotypes or hidden biases. Second, keep an open mind. Avoid drawing conclusions until the end of the case when you and your fellow jurors deliberate. Remember that when you deliberate, you will have all the evidence and all the time you need to make a careful decision. So there truly is no need to start making your mind up before then. Third, you should listen closely to all the witnesses. That is the best way to ensure that you decide this case based on the evidence and the law instead of upon unsupported assumptions. Fourth, as you listen to testimony about the people involved in this case, consider them as individuals rather than as members of a particular group. Finally, I might ask myself, would I view the evidence differently if the people were from different groups, such as different racial, ethnic, or gender identity groups? At the end of this case, I will remind you of these strategies and ask you to focus on the evidence instead of on any unsupported assumptions you may have. All we ask is that you, individually and as a group, do your best to resolve this case based upon the evidence and the law without sympathy, bias, or prejudice to the best of your ability as human beings. Now, I know that some of this may be confusing, and perhaps all of it is confusing at this early stage of the case. You'll certainly be in a better position to understand this at the end of the case when you've heard all the evidence and I can explain the law in detail. So please don't be worried if you didn't catch everything I said. Why am I telling you these things now? Because we need to know if you are able to follow the law in this case. You don't necessarily have to agree with the law, but all the jurors will have to apply the law as I describe it. So for jury selection, it's important to know if any of you might have some doubts about whether you can accept and follow these legal principles. So now I'm going to ask you to take out those white cards, please. But before we begin, I understand that sometimes jurors do not fill out the juror questionnaires completely, that sometimes we're in a hurry to get those questionnaires in, or sometimes we think that our situation may not apply to the question that's being asked. So if you know now that you've left something out of the jury questionnaire, tell us at sidebar. Jurors often leave out by mistake things like prior service in the jury, prior experiences in court as a litigant, as a witness, as a criminal defendant in a case. If we notice that your name is not there, if there's an employment history missing, we'll ask you. But if you know in advance, please let us know when you come up to sidebar. All right, my first question. Do any of you folks or a close personal friend or family member know, or have you had any prior dealings with any of the witnesses whose names I read out?
Juror number 575, juror number 592, juror number 564, juror number 595, juror number 593, juror number 572.
Thank you. Do any of you folks or a close personal friend or family member know, or have you had any prior dealings with the lawyers in this case or the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office?
Juror number 595.
Thank you. Do any of you folks or a close personal friend or family member have any financial or other personal interest whatsoever in this case or its outcome.
Juror number 568.
Thank you. If you have seen, heard, or talked about this case, please raise your hand now.
Juror number 576. Juror number 569. Juror number 562. Juror 589. Juror 596. Juror 606. Juror 563. Juror 571. Juror 572. Juror 586. Juror 550. Juror 603. Juror 578. Juror 607. Juror 569. Juror 562. Juror 577. Juror 555. Juror 599. Juror 559. Juror 568. Juror 581. Juror 564. Juror 595. Juror 600. Juror 574. Juror 561. Juror 565. Juror 602. Juror 566. Juror 582. Juror 601. Juror 553. Juror 597. Juror 575. Juror 609. Juror 592. Juror 594. Juror 593. Juror 584. And Juror 558.
Thank you. Please raise your hand if you've expressed or formed any opinion with respect to this case.
Juror 562. Juror 569. Juror 596. Juror 603. Juror 578. Juror 607. Juror 606. Juror 586. Juror 563. Juror 571. Juror 572. And Juror 576. Juror 555. Juror 599. Juror 559. Juror 568. Juror 564. Juror 595. Juror 600. Juror 574. Juror 561. Juror 602. Juror 566. Juror 582. Juror 601. Juror 553. Juror 575. Juror 592. Juror 593. And Juror 584. Sorry, 602.
Thank you. Are any of you folks aware of any bias or prejudice that you may have in regard to this case or in favor of or against either of the parties? Please raise your hand.
Juror 595. Juror 555. Juror 599. Juror 559. Juror 568. Juror 564. Juror 602. Juror 566. Juror 582. Juror 598. Juror 593. Juror 584. Juror 576.
All right. Do any of you folks have any difficulty hearing or any problem with understanding the English language, any physical or mental condition, or any religious or philosophical beliefs that would interfere with your ability to hear the evidence in this case, to understand the evidence, to concentrate during the trial, or to deliberate for the purpose of reaching a verdict? If so, please raise your hand.
Juror 577. Juror 569. Juror 607. Juror 550. 0561, 0600, 0611.
Thank you. Would any of you folks have any difficulty understanding and following those very important constitutional principles that I've outlined for you? First, that the burden of proof rests entirely on the Commonwealth. Second, that the burden of proof is proof beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. And third, that the defendant has absolutely no burden to do anything. She doesn't have to testify. She doesn't have to present any evidence. Her lawyers don't have to ask a single question. Anyone that would have difficulty following those very important constitutional principles, please raise your hand.
0561.
Thank you. I can tell you folks that after every trial, I talk to jurors and they tell me that not only was their jury experience an interesting one, most times they tell me that it was a very rewarding one. But I do understand that for some of you folks, serving on this jury may be an undue hardship. Let me tell you what I mean about that. Every civic duty we have causes us to be inconvenienced. An undue or a substantial hardship is much greater than that. It means that it's something personal to you so that you don't serve, but the person next to you has to take your spot. I generally think of it in terms of if you're a student or if you have airline tickets or surgery scheduled for the period of time that we'll be in trial. But I will hear anyone who thinks they have a substantial hardship. So if you think you fall into that group, please raise your hand now.
Juror 589, Juror 596, Juror 569, Juror 562, Juror 577, Juror 607, Juror 578, Juror 603, Juror 590, Juror 572, Juror 571, Juror 576.
Juror 611, Juror 598, Juror 595, Juror 553, Juror 581, Juror 568, Juror 566, Juror 559, Juror 599, Juror 561, Juror 574, Juror 575.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to leave the bench in a minute to give you a chance to fill out the questionnaires. I ask that you not talk to anyone as you fill out these questionnaires or share any information with the prospective juror regarding any questions or comments or concerns you may have about jury duty in general or jury duty on this case. So we'll get you those forms and we'll see you in a little while.
All rise for the court, please.
Looking sharp, Hank. Looking sharp. He looks like he wants to say something, though. He knows something. That look on his face told me everything I needed to know right there. It's something that he is excited but nervous about. That I could just tell by the look on his face, you know. So, I am so happy to see you back, Jess. I think we have a couple people that have started asking questions on the free Karen Reed side that they, thought she was innocent, and now they have some serious questions about what they've been fed, what they have been told. And some of the things that they have been told, they found out were not true. And you could go and look at the actual pieces of evidence that will show you they're not true. And I'm happy that people are like seeking a way to figure out like wait a second, if I've been told this and then now I'm being pointed to a court document that says the total opposite, or I'm being given the actual information or explanation for something that isn't nefarious, now I'm realizing I'm hearing some just propaganda of things that just couldn't be true and aren't true. And I'm actually glad there are people seeking answers. So I am so happy everybody has been so gracious to people who are coming here to ask those questions. I think it's important that we answer them. So I think, Jess, if you have, yeah, and a lot of, that's a good point. Barb makes a very wonderful point here that a lot of us were on that side in the beginning because we didn't have evidence, right? Like we didn't know. We just didn't know. We had no idea. Like there's been so many. So I do, Jess, if you want things clarified or you have questions about something, like I want you to be able to ask those questions here. And now that most people know you here, because you've been here for a few days now, and I mostly have a lot of obviously the same viewers, they know that you're actually just asking because you want some answers, right? You want the question to be answered. And I don't think anybody here or even myself has a problem actually answering questions you have, because we know, at least from you, it's not coming from being snarky. You're not here to troll. You're not like being a jerk. Like you have questions. And I think don't be afraid to ask them, because that's the way we have these conversations, right? Is to give you the pieces of evidence and for you to go look at yourself. I don't have to do the trust me, bro. That's what they do over there. What I say goes, and trust me, bro. And if you ask questions, you get bombarded with being, being an ass, like you're an asshole because you ask questions, God forbid. So no, she's not. Yeah, not. Yeah, in my opinion, that woman can plow rain and sand at the same time. So yeah, when it comes to Machado, that's how I feel about her. Sorry, but she, wrote a lot of really horrendous, awful, untrue things about Lindsay and other people. And I just don't, if you're going to be a quote journalist, then you do better, like do fucking better. Never reached out to her a single time to ask Lindsay at all. Just printed it as if it's actually true when it's not. And that really got me, Exactly. Thank you, Jane. That's exactly it. Yep. That's right. It costs nothing. And I think it's, yeah. It's me. High on the problem. It's me. No, it was evidence. It was evidence. And I can't exactly tell you what I had when I had it. But what I can tell you is that I got pieces of evidence that the public didn't have. And I saw things that only the people involved in this, including Karen, because the whole reason I got this non-public information was because Karen leaked it. And that person who she leaked it to then leaked it to a bunch of other people. So we can all thank Karen and the Stuart Turtle for the non-public information back then. So that those pieces of evidence, coupled with the fact that she was trying to control what was being said on my show, which just blew my mind. And then after that, then we have the attacks and me being a public enemy number one because I knew things I shouldn't know about his personal life. And that just showed me that if he could lie so flawlessly about that, then no wonder why it was so easy for him to do it here. Right? What? No wonder. No wonder. They didn't like your questions? Exactly. There's no ring video. At first there was a news station that reported that there was ring video that caught the whole thing. And then that news station did in fact put a retraction in saying, oh no, we were mistaken. They got from early on from a source. I don't know if it was a police source or someone who thought that they had ring cam, but they had some ring cam from John's house. So maybe that's what they meant and not at Fairview. So I'm guessing that's where the mix up came. But either way, that news station then put in a retraction saying oh, our bad, whatever. So you still have FKR saying, what happened to the ring cam? What happened to the ring cam outside that saw the entire thing? Clearly that was just a simple mistake. They never retracted. Yes, they did. They did retract. They retracted. What do you mean they didn't retract? Yes, they did. But it's they don't bother to do 10 seconds of research. If he says to them, oh, there was no retraction, they just believe it. It's wild. And that's another thing. They seem to think if you can't like tell them every answer to said crime, like then magically that's reasonable doubt. No, that's not how it works. Like, and also, yes, where are the pieces of Ring video that would show Karen coming back to the house after she hit John, right? And only minutes later, she's calling him saying, nobody knows where you are. And remember, her saying that like she watched him walk up the thing and pop his head towards that didn't happen until 9 months later. That was not something she said right away, right? Oh, like Karen herself. Yeah. I mean, she's definitely unlikable, but it's a lot more now than it was right in the beginning. Like in the beginning, you didn't see too much of that. So I don't know, like, well, that's the thing is we do have once in a blue moon, we get a troll or something, but it's been few and far between, which I think they got the point. Like, yep, they come back for more when they realize like, oh crap, like maybe I was the Boston. I actually spoke with the woman who was writing that article. I didn't read it yet. I didn't know it came out this morning, but I actually spoke with the reporter that was doing that article. She's very super nice and super sweet. Interesting. Brittany said that David Beanick tweeted there was an interesting moment between Brennan and Alessi this morning, but didn't elaborate. I need to know more too. I need to know more. Exactly, Rhonda. You only have to realize it, like, of course they blocked you. It's ridiculous. Like, but we want to answer those questions for you because if you have outstanding questions about things, like we want to give you those answers or show you where you can go look for them yourself, right? Like we don't need to do a trust me bro over here. Like as long as we have a place to point you to, cool. I mean, there are some things that like obviously I can't give you something specific to point you to, like the fact that the Alberts were already going to sell that house before John died. But I know this because I've spoken with them. And I'm happen to be friends with some of these people now, and I've seen that, like, you know what I'm saying? They have text messages and things that show that, like, they were already going to put that house on the market. And then it was they lost money, $50,000. No, they didn't lose any money. Actually, they sold it for a profit of like $250,000. They lowered the amount they sold it for, but even my grandparents did that and they didn't need to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and Kings is right. They seem to think if you don't know every single detail that it's magically reasonable doubt. No. Yeah, I'm going to have to read that. He sends his minions too, most of the time. Sends the minions. Once in a blue moon, it'll be like a public, thing, but usually it's the minions. And it's like they're like stage 5 clingers, dude, to certain people. Like, yeah, if only he traveled to the UK. Good. I think it went back up to 100. I think that's half the problem is I had it at like 50% and I think it like automatically resets every time I like do a live. So I have to like fidget with it to try to get it to like lock in at the place that I want it, Let me see. If I don't want to move it too far because it's supposed to be the top of the mic that is supposed to be where it hears you the best. Like if you try to talk with it too far away or the bottom of it near you, that's when you get problems. At least that's, what I've been told about people who use it. I did some research. Well, that's the other thing, right? Like the Scott Peterson thing, like there was a ton of evidence left behind. I don't know where it happened or, well, exactly what time, but we know, like, well, that's another thing. The fact that they don't want you questioning them, Jess, or when you do have questions, it's like, oh, you're an idiot or you get blocked. Like that should speak a lot to anyone. And I don't understand quite how it doesn't, like you're not allowed to ask questions. Like, just like Rhonda is saying, like, you're not allowed, right? Like, if you want to have like a fair debate, like they can't answer questions. If they have a question they can't answer, they go into an insult immediately. It's like, dude, you just lost the argument because you went straight to insulting. Like, it's insane. Like, and we know by now that you're just asking for regular information. So if there's something that like you have pause about that like makes you think like, oh, maybe she's innocent, and like you want answers to that question, like please feel free to ask it so people can answer it for you, or point you to a place that would show it. It's very good to question everything. You should always have questions, always. Like, right, exactly. We got to hear the data. And now we know there's 8 gigabytes more of data. How was it, Maureen? How was the article? Jennifer, me too, just because now like I see all the narcissism, it's coming out a lot more in the last like year, I'd say. That's right. Most people are, like most people are reasonable as long as like you don't come in sort of insulting or trolling. She was not, she was very nice. The lady that I talked to. Well, that's the thing, right? We have science. We have science that says our car backs up, and within seconds of that, right, John's phone stops moving forever in the place that he is found in. I mean, I don't know what better evidence they want. You can't say Proctor or Tully or anybody else fudge that because we know you didn't, that it's not altered. So exactly how do they explain her car backing up at 24 miles per hour for about 60 feet at that time? And then just seconds later, his phone stops moving forever permanently until he's found in the same spot where he's found. Like, I just don't know how you get past that. I just don't. Like, even if you took all the other pieces of evidence aside, now we know that Karen said that John took her glass. So maybe now we know, maybe he had 2 glasses. Maybe he had her glass and his glass. And that's why the pieces of glass didn't match up, because it was 2 glasses, 2 separate glasses. No wonder why, right? Like, we now know because they were saying that the pieces of glass that they couldn't match up, like, without it being like they couldn't one way or another say whether it was or it wasn't. But it would make more sense if he took her glass and his, and the straw of her glass was found. Remember, at the scene, we know that the straw was found. One of his shoes was found. So, which it happens a lot in pedestrian strikes. So it's like, where did he lose his shoe that went flying? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to tell me somebody planted his shoe under the snow? That wouldn't have been possible. Like, in front of an entire search team. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Nicholas, if I even thought that that was remotely true, I would entertain it, but I don't. Hey, Jaggy. They renovated the basement because they had a leak. There was like a leak or a flood. So, I mean, it was only part of it, the basement, is why it got renovated. But again, they have receipts for that. And I'm like, they don't need to show anybody anything. And it's like, if you want to run out on conspiracy theories, dude, and say things like, well, why do they redo the basement? When like literally the defense isn't even arguing anything about the basement being redone because they were provided to see the receipts. That's why. So you'll never hear them talk about it. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing as well, Cookie, is that they're trying to still sort out like the ARCA stuff. Because I don't feel like they're gonna give them everything in reciprocal discovery. And I think we're gonna see that Hank's still gonna ask that they be taken out, that they're not allowed to testify. Like they do. They expect any doubt of like, if it's a minute off. That's another thing that they think, right? They think that if a witness gets on the stand and says, around 12:40, and it's actually like 12:38, that's like, oh, they're lying. They said around 12:40 and it was 12:38. Like, no, they're giving a roundabout time. A roundabout time. It's not an actual like pinpoint by the minute or second. They're giving a roundabout time. It's like they hold on to the most ridiculous things. Like, I think they did, but they only certain, like it was further. If you've ever been on the road, I don't know if you've ever been on the road, but the houses are like sort of far apart. Ring only has a distance of about 30-ish or more feet. But from where the houses are, like there's a tree line to the house next door. So that house wouldn't have been able to catch anything really. It would have been blocked. The house directly across the street is sort of like diagonal across the street. So it's like there would have only been a couple houses that would have had anything that would have been useful if they had cameras. And not everybody has cameras. I mean, if I look down my street, I see 2 houses. And I did this while my daughter was riding her bike the other day just to see like how many. So she's riding her bike up and down the street and I'm looking and I only see 2 houses on my entire street with actual cameras, like ring cameras or anything like mounted or ring cameras. And I'm like, there's quite a few houses on my street. So I'm like, 2, I guess. Like, I mean, I guess people feel like they're safe, especially in smaller towns or places that are more, family friendly. When I was growing up as a kid, my grandparents, not that there was cameras back then, but they didn't even lock the doors in South Weymouth. Like it was a safe place. You know what I mean? Like it was a safe place and they didn't need to lock the doors. So I feel like it's kind of like the same. Like they felt safe. People felt safe. They didn't think they needed to do all that, They just didn't. Yeah, Hank did definitely scan. I mean, maybe he did travel to the UK, but I highly doubt he admitted having any relationships with anybody unless he was kidding. Why didn't Karen Reed go straight to Albert's that morning and demand answers? Yeah, I would have. Yes, abso-friggin-lutely. I can figure out what's a good level, what's not a good level. Well, that's another thing. You can't have an expert up on the stand. Well, you have to remember, though, there's a ton of sock accounts. That's the only thing, right? Is like there's a ton of sock accounts that like do shit like that. You know? You scanning their souls. Expert testimony without full evidence. And this is what I go back to is like, I can't take anybody seriously that sits there and says like, oh, well, I haven't blocked actually on Facebook, but you guys can check it out, I guess. And also I can't listen to the sound of his goddamn voice. It drives me absolutely insane. Because the lies that just keep spewing are just unimaginable. But I think if you sit there and tell me as an expert that if you had more evidence, if you had more of the evidence, like taillight in his shirt, or the fact that it was 18 degrees outside, or that the wind was blowing really hard, or like if you tell me that none of that matters to you trying to scientifically figure out whether he was hit by a car or not, then I can't believe a word out of your mouth. Because any expert with a smidgen, just a smidgen of integrity, his answer would have been, of course, more information could make me change my mind, right? Especially the fact that it was nighttime, the fact that it was really cold outside, the fact that it was snowing, the fact that there was taillight found on his clothes, a glass, like all of that stuff, like stuff that wasn't told to ARCA. Like it's important, Jenna said, that's why I'm here. I just listened for honesty a few months and just decided to insert myself with you in your chat. Well, that was smart because I heard from other people that they went to a couple other chats before mine. Nair says she went to a couple chats before mine and basically was on the sort of I guess we'll call it the anti side, and wasn't treated very nicely. So I'm glad that you found us, Yeah, exactly. That leaves no significant doubts. Kim said the Commonwealth tried Cara Rentala 3 times. They should never stop trying Karen Reed. Irrelevant, though, because Hank will get her this time. I do think Hank will get us a resolution in this, and I don't think she'll need to be tried a 3rd time. They have 400 hours. I know that video from interviews and all that stuff. That's a lot of hours. And like tape recorded interviews as well, as long as with video too. But are we talking about like ring videos? Like, because the ones that were deleted are the ones that I find most intriguing, because the only people with access to that system was John himself, Karen, and the kids. So the kids certainly didn't delete it. And the videos that are missing would show Karen coming back in after she left John at Fairview outside in the snow to die. And then when she got back from, because it shows her leaving, right, to go, quote, look for him. And then when she comes back and her and Carrie and Jen are looking at the taillight, that and her plucking a piece of taillight out of her taillight and dropping it into the snow, which she told Gretchen Voss in an interview. So yeah, she did. She Googled a DUI lawyer. That's not admissible, though. They're not allowing that into the trial, but she did do it. She Googled it on the same day. So yeah, at this time for me, there's no evidence to say anyone else did anything other than her. You know, that's the thing. Like, they have 8 gigabytes of the car data, new data, I think. 8 gigabytes includes the new car data? Is the whole thing? Okay. Well, 8 gigabytes nonetheless with all of the data, but we know that they missed, I think Hank said it was like 3 lines or something in the first trial, and it was defense experts that did it. And so they missed 3 lines of data. That's why they did the chip on, chip off again. So, well, that's the thing. She literally left John's house, came there, left within 15 minutes with her dad, and never went back. And it's like, you asked if you could see the kids. You told Erin O'Keefe that you're never going to see her again. Like, there were some really suspicious things, right? Like, oh, I felt like Peggy thought I hit her son. And then she says that Peggy said he looks like he got hit by a car. It's like, wait a second, hold on. Like, come on. That's utterly ridiculous. Like, come on now. That's crazy talk. Like, I mean, how would you feel like Peggy thought you hit him with her car? Because of your taillight, right? Like, I'm sorry, but waking up at 4 something in the morning, waking up John's niece and saying that she thought John was dead at 4 something in the morning, calling Katie and Mike Camerano at that time in the morning and saying, like, he got hit by a plow, he's got to be dead, and then calling Kerry and saying, Kerry, John's dead. Like, these are all things that just give people pause to be like, wait a second, what actually happened here? Because I know that if I wake up and my husband's not in bed, the first place I'm going to look is around the house, right? Like, that's the first place you're going to look. She didn't bother to do that. She didn't look around the house at all. Like, not even by a long shot. Didn't even attempt it. So then when Kerry and Jen went back to look around the house, she stopped them at some point as if she knew they were not there. Like, I think it is a good theory only because the glass that they couldn't match, right, to the one that he left with, but it makes sense if it's 2 different glasses and if it's Karen's glass and not his, one or the other, you know? Hey, Joy. Yeah, stage 5 clingers. That's what I call them. That's what I call the cyber stalkers of FKR, stage 5 clingers, especially ones that are obsessed with certain people. Like, some of them are obsessed with Lindsay, some of them are obsessed with Julie or Karen from True Crime and Wine. Like, there's always one stage 5 clinger for us, you know? Like, yeah, I think Karen was stage 5 clingering John. Poor John. Like, you know. Yep. I think for ARCA, like, they didn't ask questions, you know? Like, they said they weren't allowed to ask questions. They weren't allowed to opine outside of that thing with the cannon and whatever. Like, what? Well, that's the thing. The backup camera, right? It beeps, it warns you, and we know hers was on because we can hear it in the garage when she pulls in that voicemail and that butt dial of her own, right? We know that the car shows when she reversed. We know that John's phone shows us when it stopped moving forever and that it never went in the house. The text stream data and the car data and the phone data don't lie. It doesn't lie, you know? Jess said once the interview started coming out and she opened her mouth, I was like, wait, what did she just say? I wouldn't have had her speak during trial, in my opinion. Nobody should have. But because she thought she was so awesome and she was playing amazing rock star, you know, that's what it was, you know? Nicholas, I'm sorry if that happened to you. You know, you can email me or send me a message on the X if you want to talk about it. But I don't usually just put stuff out there that I can't confirm, unfortunately. And I know that that's a touchy subject. I've dealt with it as a kid myself. So, you know, you're not alone is all I could say. You're not the only one. There are people out there to get support from. And I would say seek some support from other people who know what it's like, you know? Well, that's another thing. They're saying that ARCA didn't lie, but any expert that gets up there and says that their mind wouldn't be changed by other scientific factors would be lying, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like Jennifer said, 100 people cannot be involved in a conspiracy theory. Even 2 or 3 is hard to keep up the conspiracy. And that's another thing. Now we have the audit that said there was no conspiracy. There's no cover up. There's so many things to prove. Like there's no conspiracy. There's no cover up. It can't just be everyone else but Karen. You know what I'm saying? Like, show me one single piece of evidence, actual evidence, not, oh, these people butt dialed from a guy that can't even read the phone data correctly. Give me something that shows anyone else did this but Karen, and I'll listen. It doesn't exist. There's just no other evidence that anyone else did anything other than Karen. She doesn't dispute being outside. She doesn't dispute her. She's the one who was driving the car. So unless someone else was driving that car, which she doesn't even dispute her driving the car. Like the car data doesn't lie. It doesn't. Like, and the story changing. That's what gets me. Her story changing. We don't know who did it, Steve. We know who did it. I don't feel bad for the witnesses. All these things that she says. She never says, I loved John and I miss him every day. Like, these are things a normal, like, mourning person would say, like someone in mourning, someone missing the person that they loved. Like, she acts like at one point she said that body didn't hit my car. Like, they talk about Jen saying a man in the snow as if her saying John in the snow is going to somehow change 911's response. Doesn't matter if she knows him. Doesn't matter if he's a former officer. They're not going to get there any, like, off-duty officer. They're not going to get there any faster if you tell them he's an off-duty officer or his name is John and he's my friend. It doesn't matter whether he's your friend or not. If you've ever worked in medical, you want to tell the EMTs the most basic information quickly. Name, age, allergies, and what you think happened or what you know happened to the person. That's about it. Like, they don't need the extra information. Seconds matter. So there's a man in the snow, aged blah, blah, blah. We don't know how long he's been out here. Like, that would be the most basic things you want to tell them so that they get there quickly. Like, well, that's another thing. After a few hours, you're calling him a pervert. Then you're saying, like, in just minutes, like, no one knows where you are. Like, but you just said and that's what I'm saying. In all these interviews, you're saying you watched him, you dropped him off, you remember. But then that morning you told Jen, I dropped him off at the waterfall. And Jen's like, I saw you outside my sister's house. So what do you mean you dropped him off at the waterfall? Saw your car out there. She gave directions to John on the phone. So, like, I don't know if she thought no one saw her outside. Right? And she thought that she could just get away with it because nobody saw her outside, or she was so drunk that she didn't even remember doing all of it in a rage. Either way, her actions taken after she hit him are what shows you, like, she knew, at least drunk or not drunk in that moment, that, like, uh-oh, you got to start doing some cleanup. Minutes later saying nobody knows where you are. Come on. I'm inclined to think she allows them too, because she's allowed Marie Russell, and I don't think any other judge would have allowed Marie Russell to testify as an expert. She can be an ER doctor all she wants, but she has no specialty in dog or dog bites. She has an interest, right? Which is cool, great, but there's not one full book that she's read about it. And she also apparently has never read the paper that has to do with odontology actually being a junk science when used in a trial. She's never heard of that before. And I find that really funny for someone who is so interested in bites, especially dog bites. It's just something like 150 animal bites, not just dog, animal. When she's an expert, I'm sorry. I don't think you're going to find anybody else saying that those are dog bites or scratches. They're not. We also have to remember that the defense in the big chalks that they were showing to the court, actually, they enhanced those pictures. They took out the lividity and they darkened the wounds to make them look like they were deeper than they were. If you look at the actual pictures, the ones that weren't altered, you can tell they're just abrasions. They're not very deep at all. But when the defense took out the lividity and then they put, the darkener on the wounds, it makes them look deeper than they are. Like, they can be crossed. I mean, to be honest, I feel like they failed completely in the first trial ARCA anyway. So, like, even if they, decided that they were going to let them be in the trial. I think Marie Russell and Arca and Green sank their own ship anyway in the first trial. Let them do it again. Oh, Barb, we were just going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about that. And yeah, the Alberts did sleep with their door unlocked. I would have too, Jess. I would have kicked the door down looking for my husband if he didn't come home and I knew that's where he was. I would have been the first place I went back to, though. She doesn't? Like, that's weird. You don't go back to that first place, that last place you saw him. You drive the 3 preceding square miles you were that night. So clearly at some point she drove by there. Sorry, I hit the mic. Had to have been at some point she drove by there, right? We're going to talk about that in 1 second, Barb. Freak said all the camera systems work by recording when the amount of pixels difference between one frame and another breaches a certain level. Things happening in the distance affects so few pixels, thus no recording. So that's what I since we have our tech genius here, Freak, I saw the video Jesus say something that I didn't agree with, and maybe you can clarify. Said something like video cameras that record on motion don't stop during a motion. And I've actually seen cameras that stop during a motion. It sets off when the motion starts, but if the motion continues, it just shuts off until it stops, until that motion stops completely and another motion comes and there's like a pause in between. So I guess it depends on the camera, but I've seen plenty of security systems that do that. And I don't think it's impossible that a motion detected camera would stop during motion. I had motion detected cameras as security cameras at my old place, and it would pop up on my screen like motion detection found. And if I would just click OK, it would stop because I knew what it was. Right? Like it would stop recording in that moment because like I know what it is now. So it's not like a threat to me. It's a way to save like space on the SD card. Well, the cult does definitely ignore a lot of the lies. I think, in my opinion, I would think that she went back to Fairview before like when she was driving the quote 3 square miles, the proceeding. I have to think that she went back. You know what I mean? Like, I just have to. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Which question was it? Sunken grave. My bad. I must have not seen it. Ashley said Karen didn't want her car back at the scene because she had a broken taillight and it was all over the scene. That's why she got Jen and Kerry involved. Part of the cover-up. She knows cops aren't stupid. Give me the question again, Sunken. Sorry. Freak said, yep, you say/do anything if you knew your other half went to the house. Yeah, I would. What the hell? Daniel said, taillight shards do not fly in formation. End of that argument. I don't know. What do you mean by that? Like, pertaining to what? Barb, yes, I'd gone right into the house. Yep. Commonwealth will try this as many times as it takes. Yeah. Good morning. Of course, darling. Morning, my friend. I'm trying to figure out what the ring keeper of the records may or may not have as far as loss. I listened to Buchanan's testimony, and I think there was a second subpoena submitted. I think that they're just exactly what it is, that they keep the records, right? They're keeper of those records. Matt said, I think ARCA is a reputable company. I think they didn't get all the data. Lying about being paid and contact is really bad look, however. Yeah, it definitely is. I wouldn't want to hire them if they could be caught like that, lying. That just doesn't seem right to me at all. Like, just doesn't seem normal, you know? Not by a long shot. I want to make sure I get to Sunken Graves question, so let me try to skip down here a little bit. Defense can realistically aim for another mistrial. If it happens, she's getting tried. I think they try her until they get a result. I don't think they're just going to stop. You know? Police station video, Higgins house video, town videos. Higgins house or outside of the police station where they say he was like on the phone, which it's like, okay, and what's your point? Like, what's your point? Does that prove something? Like, that doesn't prove anything. It shows that he was outside of the thing like he said he was. Like, I think that it was really smart of Barb of him to ask for the full screen like that. They didn't determine it when they first arrived at the scene, King said. It was later on, but the obvious things would be the location of his body at side of the road and no shoe. Angela said, second subpoena is the key to the loss at Ring. We shall see. Matt said, I think they should have moved the trial to Worcester County. I think Worcester would have been a bad idea, to be honest, because that's where the propaganda originated. I would assume that would be one of the worst counties along with Norfolk. You want to move it to a county, you move it like down the Cape or Bristol or like Berkshire County, because certain things they don't allow in because it could prejudice the jury, especially things that have to do with lawyers. They really don't like to let in because there is a privilege there. You know, even though like you don't have the attorney yet, Googling an attorney itself doesn't make you guilty. Just mean like you have a right to that. So like they don't want to use that as something that, you know, could be good or bad because you have a right to an attorney. Like your rights can't be used against you or you using your rights, you know? Yeah, we are only getting Karen's thing, like her word on that. We absolutely are. Hold on a second, guys. That's another thing. Who calls the elderly parents at 1 or 2 in the morning? That's just a little, I wouldn't, that's for damn sure. Like, what time did she connect with her father? Yeah, that was around 1:30, around 1:30. Like, I think you're at the wrong channel then, Izzy. Because the data says that she hit him with the car. Who's in on this cover up? How many people would it have taken to do a giant conspiracy and cover up? At this point, we have the judge, the FBI, the audit people, all the Alberts, all the McCabe's, all the EMTs, all the firefighters, the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, 7 other YouTubers like myself. Like, how many more people are in on it? Conspiracy hasn't cracked yet. The FBI is done with their investigation. They also found no conspiracy, no cover up, no indictments or arrests of anyone. Still, the only person who has not been cleared is Karen. I believe, in my opinion, that she went back, but we'll just have to find out, you know? That's another thing. Why'd she think Peggy was talking about her car, right? That's another thing. 5%, less than 5% of ARCA income is accident reconstruction. They're a lobbying firm with patents that they hold. Buchanan tried to implications. There was a second attempt to ring, and of course the defense kept objecting. Of course they did. They object to anything that might we don't do that here. You can totally do that in one of the cult channels if you want. Yeah, I mean, I think that's got to be kind of the conversation they had, because he said, well, she said she felt like she struck something. He said that in an interview. So I have to believe that's the conversation they had, right? Like, okay, so I'm going to explain this sort of thing. I'm going to get to that in 1 second. She's wanting to see the kids as an excuse to get her shit and erase the camera footage. That's what I think. But it was around like 1:30 that she called him. There is new car data. Yeah, so I guess it's 8 gigabytes altogether, I guess. I thought we had 8 gigabytes in new, but I guess it's all together. It's still important that we don't know how much of that is new and how much of it isn't. Still think I know that it was a lot. I know that they got a lot of new data. Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's not admissible because you can't have your rights used against you, and that's why the judge decided that it wasn't going to be allowed in. The Commonwealth tried though, like rent a quotes, yeah. She called again at 4. I believe she went back before then. Said you drove the 3 square miles. Wouldn't that include there? You know, like Heather said she got a call this morning around 2 a.m. Might have been closer to 3. A family member hit a deer and it was almost bad. Before I picked up, I knew something was wrong. We don't call each other at 2. Yeah, so I would immediately know something was up at 2 in the morning if someone called me, because I don't get calls at 2 in the morning. So if my family called me at 2 in the morning, I would know there's a serious issue. Like there's an issue, you know? So I guess, hold on. Just want to make sure. So I'm going to talk about this for a second, Rhonda. So this morning, a lot of you guys weren't here this morning when I started to talk about it, but apparently last night, the curator decided that it would be just a splendid idea of his to go on his live stream and call Amy and then, say her number and also let the voicemail pick up on her number and let, his squad mob of minions harass her, right? Because that's normal. The problem with that is Amy is a witness against him. She is a witness. So that is witness intimidation. I don't know what he hasn't learned at this point. Like, I don't know what he hasn't learned at this point. But I do, hi, Nicole, I do want to address this because at what point is Norfolk County going to say enough is enough with this? I get their point. I get what they're doing. Keep giving them rope. But at this point, I have to feel like the Commonwealth's a little bit responsible when more and more people get harassed more and more and more if they just wait on everything, right? So he decided it would be such a grand idea to call and leave ridiculous messages on his live stream of a witness against him last night. Now, the witness, Amy, she used to be one of his admins in a chat, and she saw some really sketchy, fucked up things happening and did not agree with it, spoke up, and became public enemy number one, as you do when you know things about him you're not supposed to do that are bad. He went on to then, of course, call her crazy and this and the same things he does to everyone, sully her name and, have the mob harass her. So you guys are so amazing that I want to bring it up because it's an important thing to make sure that like people who are going through these things know that they have our support and that they're not alone, because it's hard to deal with. All right. It's not an easy thing to deal with, these mob members that are, now they all have your number. So now they're going to send you voicemails, emails, text messages, because they're going to get all the information. They're going to dig up all of your information. You're going to get numbers that they use, text now numbers to text you, and it's not just going to stop. People are going to keep seeing it as they watch it again and again. So it's going to keep happening. So I'm hoping that you all in my chat can give some kind words and words of encouragement to Amy, because nobody deserves to deal with that. No one, literally no one. It's unacceptable. And I really hope that the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office put his ass in cuffs and charge him with witness intimidation again, because you're intimidating another witness. That's his whole point, is to hush her up, quiet her down, right? Come on now. Absolutely. And I will tell you why, Jesse. John had most of his injuries on one part of his body. When you get in a fight, the fight doesn't just result in one half of your body. Think about it, right? Say you caught your husband cheating and you beat the shit out of him and it's a mistress. Do you go for one side of the body only? Are you like, let me just keep it to this side? Or is it more reasonable to say that John was clipped by the side of her car on that side of his body? You know what I mean? If you're in a fight, also, we know that scratch on his nose, at least this is what Karen claims, is from her picking that piece of glass out of his nose. And also, we know medically that raccoon eyes, anybody who's worked in medical knows this, raccoon eyes is something that happens, especially when you have a head injury like that. The blood pools to the front and creates those sort of raccoon eyes. There's actually a clip of a comedian who had a seizure on stage, collapsed on stage. And the next morning they had raccoon eyes from hitting their head. And there's an interview with her saying that's what she got from falling. So I would point you to that. I can get it to you if you want to email me. I can show you where to go look for it. I'd have to look after the show, but I think it's important in the context of showing where those raccoon eyes come from. You're not going to get in a fight and it's only going to be one part of your body. They have the bite patterns from Chloe from before John ever died, and now they have after. There's no bottom jaw anywhere. There would be puncture wounds. There's no dog DNA. And the paws are way too big for those to have been scratches. Again, no puncture marks, and they're not deep enough. They're abrasions, which I believe are either from the glass or from the taillight shards, or both, perhaps. I'm not sure if Rita is still supporting her. I know that she hasn't been super out in a lot of the public events, but I mean, not that, at least in the pictures that we see. I don't know. It's a good question. But she won't get on the stand either. Her defense is to get on TV shows because she thinks she's Miss America. Like, yeah, whatever he hit his head on is really what did the most damage, whether it was, the car or the ground. It was cold. It was 18 degrees outside. There's no signs of any sort of argument or fight. Also, he never went in the house. So who's he fighting with? Himself? Nobody else's geolocation shows that they were out near him at any of the time. Karen was the only one who was near him when he stopped moving permanently, right? Like, it's very possible that that's what happened. That, he called in but she did make other comments about not wanting to live that the first responders said that she made, and she did. She went to Jen's house at like 5 something. Boundless Millennial, fantastic clip. I'm a star. I hate how my mind goes back and forth. I mean, it's normal though. It's absolutely normal to sort of like think through these things. Like, definitely. Like, yeah, see, 5:30 in the morning. Yeah, I'd be concerned. Like, who's calling me at 5:30 in the morning? 5:30 in the morning would lead me to believe that it's my family, right? Like, something happened. Something's wrong. Like, it was a butt dial. See, how many of us have done that? Me, I've done it. Like, I do hope your sister feels better as well. Yeah, Boundless has some great, great clips. Foghorn said 50-year-olds don't fight over women like Karen. If Brian wanted Karen, John would have gladly said have her. We also have to remember that it wasn't Brian that initiated any sort of contact with Karen. She took his number out of John's phone and contacted him on her own. So why would Brian be fighting for someone he didn't even contact to begin with? He was literally asking a bunch of questions too, like, so what is this? Like, what is this for? Like, why are you messaging me? Like, so it's like real big stretch to think that magically they're going to beat him up for a girl that messaged him and initiated contact with him. Like, it just doesn't jive with any sort of theory of any of the other evidence at all either. Like, her car shows that the wheel jolted a little bit at 12:30, whatever it was specifically. And then just seconds after that, John's phone stops moving permanently forever in the spot that he's found. So she backs up at 24 miles an hour for 60 feet. And then the wheel, when she hits whatever she hits, the wheel sort of jerks a little. And then she drives off. But that's another thing. Whatever she hit, when she hit, like whatever she hit, we know it's John, but like we'll say whatever she hit, right? We know that she didn't even apply the brake herself, like until after the collision. And we hear the beeping as she's coming into the garage of all of her alarms just minutes after that. So we know that if she was backing up into something, those alarms would have been going off. Beep, 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 because it comes even when it's not directly behind you. If it's to your side, your blind spots, it starts beeping. Beep, 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 to tell you you're close to something, you're near something. Like, so we know they were working because just minutes later, she butt dials John's voicemail and we can hear the beeping of her pulling into the garage from her warning system. Like, yep, this is exactly it right here. Like Maestro said. Yeah, drunk driving. Exactly, Chris. The Lexus data shows she hit something at the time she was outside Fairview. The GPS will show exactly where she was when it happened. Well, there's your answer about Rita. Apparently, she's turned her attention to the Canton Select Board. Yeah, that's what she said. My car never hit that body. Like, what? Like, Yes, it's something like, "Oh, we were only dating." Like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you were only dating or if you were married. I think it would be the same kind of loss, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. They're saying AJ is now saying they were in an open relationship, except both Higgins and the first responders said she called John her husband. She did call John her husband. It's insane to me. Like, it's insane. A reenactment. Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be beautiful justice, though. Just that I have a 2012 SUV and the data says second by second with video. How does a brand new car not have any of that data? Well, they missed a lot of data the first time, and the system that they were trying to get it from, Burla, did not have the update for that car. She had a 2021 Lexus, and so they didn't have an update to read all the data on the car. So that's why they did the chip on, chip off and tried to use a different software to get all the data. The defense expert did the chip on, chip off and missed 3 lines of data. So the total, I guess, is 8 gigabytes of data, but with a lot of things that like were missing. And now we know that Hank says he knows exactly what time John took his seatbelt off. So I'm guessing they got exactly what you're talking about in that comment that I just read. All of the information. That's another thing. Like, how could they have when at 5 in the morning it's already broken? How could they have when it was already gone? Like, and who would have ever had the time to go there or the opportunity to go there and sprinkle? It would have to be under the snow or in front of other people. It's just not feasible. Like, yeah, she told her she left John at the waterfall, not even remembering or lying about being outside. Yep, that's it. 24.2 miles an hour. Yep. Well, that and also the Lexus data, like when you pedestrian strikes don't always show up as like a quote triggering event because you're not hitting like a car or a pole, but it shows as like a jolt still, you know, shows how much the wheel turned. It shows that she was 75% on the gas pedal. So not just a little, she was 75% on that gas pedal. Like, we know that because that's the data, right? Like, Dr. Welch's report is damning. It says John O'Keefe's injuries are consistent with the damage to the Reed 2021 Lexus LX 570. I don't think she remembers being at the Fairview house. Well, I think she does now, even if she didn't then, you know? Yeah, you can work out the approximate weight. Her vehicle screamed at her. Yeah. Screamed. Like, come on. She is dogmatic and definitely arrogant. Why would anyone want to set her up? Why? Well, that's another thing. None of these people, like Trooper Proctor did not know her. He was on call. He was on call. Like, so like he happened to be on call magically. He, you know, wanted her to be framed. It just doesn't line up with anything that we know. There's no reason for anybody to want to frame her. And before John died, we know that all of these people liked her, right? We know that they thought she was a decent human being and that their relationship was normal. Like, what does that tell you? You know what I mean? Also, we're an hour and 45 minutes in, and it's going to be a shorter show today. So I'll ask everybody to make sure that you hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you can give a small donation to the channel, you know, it always helps out. And we don't have the super chat and super stickers and memberships. Hopefully we will in the next month or so. But until then, all we have is Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. There is this information at the bottom of the screen. It's also on that ticker at the very bottom. So when I pull this down, you can still do it with the information that's in the ticker. I can't make the ticker bigger. I'm sorry. I know people ask me all the time. And then I read them. I don't read names if they're government names. And if you want to remain anonymous, just say ANON, and I will not read any of your name, not even your screen name. People who are protected by the cops don't need to frame anyone because they're protected. So anything they say to cops will be taken as a fact. Leon said, I think she was so drunk it didn't quite register what she did until later that night, which is why she started driving around looking outside for him instead of trying to go back to Fairview. That's the thing. The truth never changes. And the fact that Karen's story has changed a few times should give anyone pause. The alcohol definitely played a huge part in all of this. Like, I've always remembered like everything. I think I blacked out one time ever in all the years I've been alive, and it was like my 21st birthday. Yeah, they blew up the photo, made it but bigger, much bigger. Karen wants a jury to believe that multiple people were out to hurt John on the very same night she was absolutely raging at him, and they killed John. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Yep, yep. I mean, it's good to ask questions because then you get the answers. I think in this case, I've seen a lot of shitty things that the defense has done that are completely unethical, and they're going to pay the price for that when this is over. Like, there are going to be complaints on their licenses for the things that they chose to do. In this case, I don't know why they want to flush their career down a toilet for some media sensation, because that's what they're doing. Like, yeah, why go to the waterfall? I mean, they don't know, because to Jen McCabe, for all Jen knew, they left there, went back towards the waterfall, got in an argument, and he got out, right? Like, so she's got to go by Jen, and Carrie have to go by what Karen is telling them, because they never came in the house, right? So those camera systems have so many settings, even the people who service them wouldn't know without being on scene. Russell doesn't know if they're bites or claw marks. That's another thing. So brilliant, she can't tell you if it's one or the other, though. Or both. She said she fell asleep but called him 50 times. That's another thing. The only time that her phone has any like gap is about an hour between like 3, I think, and 4 or something, I think. So if she sleeps, she only sleeps for like an hour. The ring stops when someone isn't there. And our other cameras, Rhonda said the video Jesus went mental on me yesterday was a good giggle. You know so much about this kind of stuff, and so does Freak, so I don't even know why anybody would want to debate you on that. It's like debate, you know what I mean? Like, why do you want to debate people who know what they're talking about? Like, some cameras are set to record for a set time. That's another thing, like 10 seconds until triggered again. So they can stop recording during motion. Maybe that's what mine was set to, like set to record for 30 seconds. And then once the thing pops up and you're like, oh yeah, okay, and you hit the okay button, it stops. Like, they absolutely can stop recording while a motion is happening. I don't know why she would say that, because that's not true. Like, yeah, she's the only one who said, John, I fucking hate you and you're a pervert. Although, like, no one else has a bad word to say about the guy, like, only Karen. I'm remembering wrong. Hard to keep weeks of trial information in my head. Yeah, I know. I know. That is true. Right? That's another thing. Like, if anyone was to tell me it was dog scratches or bites, if you had told me that's what it looked like, I'd believe you. Like, why? Because you've been training dogs for how many years at this point? 20? Like, come on now. Like, I guess not. I guess she chose not to, at least not right now, because she would have done it with them out of the room, with the jurors out of the room. Like, oh my God, yes, I know. I did too. Like, anytime one of my neighbors would come in or out of the building, like, I would get the stupid alert. That's why I had it set up that way, for me to be like, okay, because it would just be one of my neighbors, Call me slow, but it only occurred to me today how disrespectful it is to people of faith to be using the name journalism Jesus or video Jesus. Yeah, well, I mean, it's also very presumptuous to call yourselves things like that. Should I call myself Law Jesus? Is that what we're doing now? Is that what we're doing? I would have assumed JOK was crashing at the Alberts and went to bed. That's the thing. I would have assumed he was crashing somewhere. I probably wouldn't have panicked until like maybe the middle of the day and he hadn't called still and he's not answering. He doesn't show up. Then I start to panic. Then I start to figure out like what the hell is going on. I'm not panicking at 4 a.m. unless I know something's up, unless I know something is not right. Like, and how would you know that if everything was hunky dory, right? Like, they said he was talking to BA at that video. Which one, though? At the Brian Albert? We know he wasn't talking to Brian Albert on that video. Why? Because the FBI ruled that out. So I find it funny that's once again, that's like another cult. Like, it's pure speculation. Who he was actually talking to was the person who he was supposed to be plowing their driveway. So it's funny what the actual answer is versus like what they claim it is. It's amazing to me. Like, no, he wasn't talking to Brian Albert. You loses. Like, But again, that's pure speculation on their behalf. Like, no, the FBI looked into all of that, everybody's geolocations, where everybody was. If they lied, they found nothing but mean texts from Proctor. That's what they found. Like, that is what they found. So insane to me. Good morning, Francesca. Yeah, I think she would have done it while the jury wasn't in the room, because you don't want to bias or prejudice the jury. So if she wasn't going to do it first thing in the morning, or maybe even last thing before they leave for the day and the jurors are already gone, like maybe then, but she's not going to do it in front of the jury. A canine was let out on a client. Oof, that's a whole different story. And that's another thing. This was not a canine. It was the dog of an officer, but not a canine. It's just a regular dog, domestic dog. He's not. It's during jury selection. Once the jury is sworn in, he won't be allowed. He won't be allowed once the jury is sworn in. He thinks that by having his attorneys say that he's gonna, plead the fifth, will magically all of a sudden make it so that they'll be like, oh, you're just gonna plead the fifth? Okay, cool. Like, we'll just take you off the witness list. FYI to the Stewart Journal, that's not going to happen, sir. Hank Brennan will make you get on the stand and answer every single question with, I plead the fifth, sir. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. It's his right to do that. So go ahead, get on the stand and just say you plead the fifth to every question. The court has to determine whether you're allowed to plead the fifth of that question or not. So, I mean, please, by all means, think that it just means they're going to take you off the witness list, when in reality, Hank has a right to put you on the stand, and you'd have to plead the fifth to every question. Please do. Like, yeah, well. Yeah, exactly. We're still like before they're sworn in technically, so. Oh, love animals. They can't explain it. That's the thing. Just kind of ignore those things. Like, right. What's the evidence that she didn't? She didn't. Me too. I like exploring things, like, especially when you get to talk about like why it could or couldn't have happened, Like, you got to go through why something could or couldn't have happened, and why it would either be feasible or not feasible. Like, Hurt Brett's former best friend, Matty Moe, was a DJ for a TV event. He talked so much shit about it. Oh my God, that's hilarious. I don't know why you would want to be a DJ for an event like that and watch people act a fool. Like, ridiculous. Yeah, it could be, including the report by Welcher. Yeah. The hard data says Karen Reed went forward 64 feet, stopped, put in reverse, and slammed the accelerator down. Yeah, 75%. Hit John and never hit the brakes, all within 5 seconds. Yeah, it only takes that quick amount of time for something like that to happen, The entering the house accused didn't happen for over a year. That's right. It was close to a year. Like, until then, it was a horrible accident and no intent, is what Yannetti said. Remember? Like, that's exactly it. I have no idea why he would say that. I don't watch him. Yes, she still trains. Amy is someone who used to be a FKR and used to be a mod of his group chats until she realized what the hell was actually going on. No, it's a two-party. Well, actually, she lives in a different state technically. So, I mean, she could, but I wouldn't pick it up. I wouldn't entertain these people. You know what I mean? But she has screenshots. She has the pictures of them calling, Yeah, with his little dino arms. Like, let's call Amy, everyone. Like, look like an idiot. Like, this is just insane. Like, yeah, we know there's something wrong if you're calling us at that, early. Hey, girl. Hey. Yeah, on tape. A witness. Like, come on. Yeah, it's raining here too. Again. Getting sick and tired of this rain, I'll tell you that much. Oh, you saw it. Oh, they're on. They know. I don't know, but they know, Let's hope that that's not true. Let's hope that they're just giving him enough rope. Well, that's another thing. He was thrust into the snow. That's how you stop bruising, you know? But like, yeah, I mean, also at the same time, like, she was a mod, yes. Like, the dog bite thing was never a smart theory, ever. Like, it's clearly not a dog bite. Oh, he's definitely reported. It's about, it's been reported. Like, well, that's the thing, is they should have thrown his ass in jail there. You just encourage him to do it again and again when you don't. You know? Like, no, nobody deserves it. No one. Nobody, you know? Like, nobody. Yeah, it should, the whole thing should be shut down. It's, you know? 8 gigabytes is all the reports. Oh, it is kind of getting Groundhog Day-ish. You're totally right about that. If Karen gets off TV, makes money. Oh, yeah, he admitted it. 100% admitted it. Like, oh, well, if this case, she's found guilty, it's bad for him, he says. No kidding. Heartstar, I have no idea why Judge Canoni is, you know, the way that she is. I couldn't answer that. Like, you know, unfortunately, I wish that I could answer that for you guys. I cannot. I know, right? Caused by a trained amateur backyard boxer who only hits the bag once a month and can't throw a body shot to save his life. Obviously, that is clearly what happened. I mean, duh. Like, she was on Mad TV. I think totally remember that. I don't know. Fighters don't get two perfect guys like that. It's usually one eye. Thank you for taking time and explaining your point of view. My mom's a doctor and she said raccoon eyes too. See? And you guys can get this information from like actual reputable people that know, you know, like you don't have to listen to me. Like, well, that's it. He never cared about Karen. It's all about the money. It's about the money that they give him. You think he's willing to do a 2-hour show where he doesn't make anything? Like if roles were reversed, right? And he was me at this point in his show, at 2 hours in, not having read any donations yet, he would have been screaming to his audience like, well, guys, I haven't made a single penny yet. Do you guys not like me anymore? Like, he'd make a whole huge deal out of it. Like, a huge deal out of it. Like, that's all he cares about. Like, it's all he cares about. Like, of course, like, I've said this before, content creators should make a living. They absolutely should. But there's no, like, thing that allows me to be like, yeah, let me make money lying. Like, once you start lying, dude, that's, and like knowingly lying, like, not it's what you actually believe, but like after you know it's not a thing anymore and you have proof that it's not, like, to keep saying it like just for the money is just insane to me. It doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, that was a good one, Avi. People are scared of him. I don't know why. He's not very scary, which is a dinosaur and his pink floofy pen. He's just not serious. He's not a serious person. He's not very serious. Puncture wounds in his shirt. Yeah, that was so hilarious to me. Like, dude, they cut his shirt off his body. Hello. Hi, Potluck. Francesca said, Jesse, I appreciate how you're asking questions and willing to look at hard data. Most FKR don't even discuss the data we give them. They just say butt dials, red solo cups, conspiracy, McAlberts. Yeah, no, seriously, that's like the same 4 things they say over and over, and none of it actually like shows anything. Oh yeah, Amy, last night. Yep. It happened. Like what? Like what? I was asleep when it happened, so I didn't know until this morning. But like what? And that, yeah, again, beaten to death. Yeah. 8 whole people? 8 whole people. They were trying to get arrested, but they didn't, so they went home. Interesting. Oh, Rita was at the town meeting. Rhonda, Ashley said, Rhonda, yes, lawyers are afraid. Yep. And we know this because they know he'll destroy their reputation. I believe judges are too, because he'll cause them concerns of harassment and fear of the cult. He's done it before. I have to agree with her there. I have to agree. Yeah, there are actually pictures of Colin with his knuckles being perfectly normal like mine after John died. And then the funny part is the one with his knuckles is from a month or 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks after John died. That on his hand would have been fresh. It wouldn't have been something that just happened, because it would be healed. In 3 weeks to a month, it would have been already healed by then. It wouldn't have looked the way it looked. So it's so funny to me when they're like, yeah, I mean, look at his knuckles. It's like, dude, that picture's from a month later. There is no way his knuckles would look like that a month later. Like, use a little bit of common sense, just a smidge. Like, oh, listen, I woke up with like a little bit of a one, and I was like, I'm gonna power through it. I'm gonna do it. I mean, I hope so. I hope I'm good at my job. I would hope so. I try. I'll tell you that much. I try. You know, like, I try. I really got to get like a thing for this. I get so much pain sitting in this chair, and I love my chair. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just my body in general. Like, pedestrian vehicle impacts 2 injury stages. First stage is the car hitting the person, normally non-fatal limb extremities. Second is hitting the floor, most often head injury, and a higher percentage fatal. Oh, butt dials are so common. Courtney said, I believe Karen Reed is innocent, but agrees some of the supporters of her are a little crazy, like decorating their Christmas tree with her and shrines in their home. Yeah, it's a little nutty, if you ask me, Courtney. No one should be calling anyone, not on either of the sides. It's pointless hate that won't change anything. Yeah, I don't know why people waste their time. It's kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. I wouldn't waste my time. I don't know why they waste theirs. Like, it's crazy talk. Like, Rhonda said, because he was lying in the snow for hours, suppressing the bruising. Yeah, that's exactly it. We wouldn't have bruising, but I mean, he clearly wasn't bit either. Navin said, anyone think Karen Reed hit him? He fell back, hitting his head on the hydrant, then tried to crawl to the house, but collapsed. I've thought about that, whether he crawled a little, because not only is there a hydrant there, and I actually took pictures of the hydrant when I went there a couple times, and there are like smaller dents, like really smaller dents on it, on the face of it. But there's also like a electrical box that apparently has been broken. It doesn't close all the way for a really long time. And that electrical box is right near, just off to the side of the hydrant. So I've thought about it. I have thought about whether he might have crawled for a few seconds or something before he ultimately collapsed. That's another thing. Why? This exactly, Aviana, exactly. So wouldn't be able to have her anyway. It just doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't. It just does not. Like, that's another thing. You just hope that he died. You left him out there to hope he would die. Like, why did, like, Carrie and Jen didn't think he was dead? Why did Karen think he was dead? It's a very good point, Crime Cricket. I think it's because she knew, right? She knew how long he had been there when everybody else did not. She knew exactly where to go in that lump of snow, and no one else even saw him. Even after he was uncovered in snow, the first responders didn't see him from the street. Like, it's a very real possibility. Maureen's got the numbers. I wrote it all down so I could give you guys the numbers later. But yeah, this is it right here. Let's hope they don't pick someone just to pick someone, right? Potluck said, they say that the last action on John's phone was a press on the on and off button. This also brings up a one-click option to call emergency services. It does. It also could be other two possibilities, that when he got out of the car, he had his phone in his hand, he clicked the button to lock it and put it in his phone. Seconds later, he is hit, right? We know this. Or it's already in his pocket, and when he's hit, it pushes the button on the phone. One of two things. Most tests are done with the vehicle moving forward, and the pedestrian does what's called wraparound, and the head hits the windscreen, so you got to look past those. Well, that, and because most pedestrian strikes are from the front, not from the back. So we know that too. Like, it is straightforward, but again, when you've been fed all the propaganda for so long, you start to believe some of that propaganda without actually looking into it. And I'm really glad that a lot of people are coming here and they're looking into it, and that you guys are giving them answers. Like, because I guess they get shoo-shooed sort of out of other channels, like, shoo-shoo, you're a free Karen Reed, we don't want to hear from you. Like, but maybe they have questions. Maybe we can point them to where they can look, right? Like, let's remain open-minded here. Like, it's a great idea, TB2. That's a great idea. This wouldn't be a bad idea. Email the DA as a group. Demand they charge him with witness intimidation. Also, by the way, I announced this yesterday on the Facebook page, but the Canton PD. So we thought about going to send them some pizzas on Wednesday. But if you're not from the area and all that, or even if you are from the area and can't go, want to go, we're sending cards to them because those they can accept, right? So if you can, pop a card in the mail for them and tell them it's from the Twisted Tragedies family and that they're not alone, and boost their morale. Let them know that they're, appreciated, and nobody's going to have any parties if they die. It was really sad reading that they thought that in the audit. And I think there should be a way to let them know, like, they're not alone, and not to feel that way, to boost that morale over there, like car data is the key. Yeah, he was clipped with the car. He wasn't full on hit with the middle of the car, and people forget that too. Like, it was clipped with the side of it. Like, yep, my car never hit that body. It was very much distancing. I've said that. It's a way to distance yourself from the victim. Like, oh, I am so ready to see that new chip off information. I am so freaking ready to see it. I believe that the book will be thrown at her if she's found guilty, and I can't wait for that sentencing. Like, it's very true, Angela. That is very true. I think he was probably trying to protect himself in the very last seconds, maybe, but it was too late. So yeah, 75% gas. That's what the car data says. 75% she was on that gas. And yeah, blasting YouTube, but your sensors, usually your sensors interrupt the music though. In most cars, Yes, of course. It's twistedtragedies3@gmail. And then there's one right here at the bottom of my ticker where my PayPal is. That's also one of my emails. So you can always email me at one of those 2 emails. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to point you to where you need to look for the information. Or try to, at least, if I can remember. There's so much and so many documents. It's going to take me a minute to find certain people here. Actually, there's 343 people, but probably, I guess that number is what's on YouTube. But yeah, a like would help a ton. Yeah, could you imagine flooring that accelerator that fast? 75%? Like, come on. Well, she didn't want the white picket fence with the kids. We know that. We definitely know that. Like, yeah, Joy, exactly. We know who did it, right? We know who did it, Steve. We know who did it. And then it was, we don't know who did it. And it's not for us to know. And then it was, Colin did it, Higgins did it, the Mick Alberts did it, Chloe did it, or the obvious, like Joy is saying, Karen did it, because the evidence says that Karen did it. Like, and they were arguing all day. Jesse said, seriously, thank you guys for answering my questions so thoroughly, because I just get skipped over. And I just said to my husband, I was put on a timeout in a chat that was crazy. I will never return. I don't blame you, because there's no reason to put you in a timeout for just asking real questions that you want the answers to. Like, I think she probably was thinking of excuses, Christina. Tell you what, Bree. Could have been a raccoon, could have been a pet with wild boar, could have been a black bear. Well, now they're saying just a random animal or dog. I mean, they just can't even keep their story straight. Like, it's crazy talk. Like, I'm not sure if it was, is that you, John, or was that you, or where are you, Rhonda? It's weird, You are, Jane is right. You are welcome here. Yeah, those voicemails should give anybody goosebumps. And yes, not in a good way. Like, yeah, you can't never ask questions, right, Francesca? Like, Chris is a good guy. That's the funny part, Like, is offensive to some of us. I can't even look at her. Hey, Barb, I don't blame you. Was that you? But others argue and say, where the fuck are you? It could be that too. Could be. Like, it's possible. From John's computer is where she could have deleted the ring. Francesca wants to know, Jesse, what made you begin to question her innocence? Speculation. That's what I feel everything is now. Don't we just want the truth for John? I really hope the truth comes out. Randy said, question, if his arm hit the taillight, causing it to break into 45 plus pieces at the road, how did all the pieces end up on the lawn and none in the road? What? What do you mean? The road was plowed. They found pieces going back a while, and they did right in front of, with shovels onto the road. And so when they shoveled from the road into the yard, some of the pieces came up and turned over. Then they took pictures as soon as they saw them. from the shovel. So it's not that they didn't find pieces, is they had to shovel for some of them, and the roads got plowed, so things got pushed into the yard as well. Jesse said that basically when she went on TV. Exactly. Carrie and John tried to tell her, like, to shut up, right? They were like, "Shut up, Karen, stop saying," like, you know what I mean? Like, trying to help her out. Like, "Dude, you're saying things that are crazy." Like, and like, if you're trying to frame someone, you just let them say crazy things. Like, she was kind of, yeah, in a way, trying to protect her by telling her to shut up. Like, stop. He wants a new Lexus. Of course, it's probably a dog whistle of some kind to her. Like, "Hey, I need some more money. I'm not getting enough money. You need to send more money." Something, you know what I mean? Like, I don't doubt that it's some sort of dog whistle. Let's keep the church names to church. Yes, they did say she was not good around strangers, but it was more that she wasn't good with other animals either. Like, I would have went back to Fairview and knocked on the door as well. And that's another thing. You have to remember memories over time fade, you know? Like, I'm sure there are things that are clear as day and other things that weren't so important, or people are like, "Well, I don't have to remember," you know? Like, yeah, mean is right. Like, yeah, we talked about that when we saw that this morning. We're going to find out what it is, though. I mean, that's okay, but she's been here a couple days and couple shows now, and has been very kind and has asked questions, and I've told her that she can ask questions because she's on the fence. She's starting to, question some things, and I can't blame her, you know? Oh yeah, well that's the problem, right? I love when people ask this question. Where's all the blood? It was there. They picked up a little bit of it, but it was there. So it did seep into the ground. Rather frozen ground, it does still seep, by the way. Number one. Number two, it was actively snowing. So when the snow comes down on top of it, the snow also sucks it up. There was blood everywhere. Like, make no mistake. And you know who told us that, by the way? Karen, in her interview, said there was blood everywhere. There was so much blood. So I love when people say, "Where was the blood?" as if there was none, because they were told there was only 6 drops because there were 6 cups. There was a lot more than 6 drops. Never marry a defense attorney. Well, I don't know about that. Not all defense attorneys are slimy, you know? Well, that's probably good at that. Like, listen, I'm not trying to make somebody believe one way or another. I just think you should look at the evidence, the data, right? Look at all of it and then make your choice, you know? Make your choice. No, there was blood everywhere. There was blood everywhere. Oh, I forgot about that. The titanium in your wrist. She said, "I no longer take in owner aggression cases because they lack integrity to tell how severe the dog is." Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, I mean, she could have said I hit John and not something, but I think, her parents are never going to tell us, never going to tell us. Yeah, where did you get the 3 liters from? There was blood all over the ground. It was on John's clothes. It was on the ground. Yeah, Mad TV. Maybe that's where she was. But yeah, she fell and had like a seizure, and then, she did an interview after about the raccoon eyes and how she got them. I don't know. They just think, "What do you mean? His socks were on his feet." "What do you mean what happened to his socks?" "His socks were on his feet." Is that like another thing that they're saying is like magically he had no socks now? At the hospital, he's laying on the gurney with his socks on, just FYI. We have pictures of that. His socks are on his feet. Like, they also try to they usually take your clothes off at the hospital so they can try to save your life. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. It's what you got to pay a minimum. It's $5, right? Yeah, 5. We joke about that over here. $5 or more, guys. It's got to be $5. Has to be at least $5. At least. Who's talking about the other creators? And it's actually my show. See, I think that's where you where you might have got mixed up here, is it's my show. So I get to talk about whatever it is that I want to talk about. And it is about justice for John, but that does not include helping a murderer. Let's just be abundantly clear about that. And if there is a creator sending misinformation out there constantly, then yeah, we're going to talk about it. That's what's going to happen. The sewer turtle puts out lots and lots of misinformation. So yeah, we talk about it. So maybe this isn't the channel for you then. It absolutely does, Nicole. They're making a big deal about the audit because it wasn't good for them. It shows there was no corruption, no collusion, no planting of evidence, and they don't like that. Like, well, that's half the problem, right? And this is the problem, right, Jesse? You can see it in real time. They ask the question, you answer it, and they ignore the answer and then say, why aren't you answering my question? I just answered it. You're just ignoring the answer. Like, that's also like technically threats of violence. So she's probably working. She has her earphones in usually. She might come in and comment sometimes, but usually she's working. Yeah, we're not making fun of people with speech impediments. I guess you missed the impression. You guess it went over your head. Went over your head. Completely over your head. It has nothing to do with people with speech impediments, but I mean, go ahead with your bad self. Don't let it hit you with the good Lord split you. Jesse said, only this channel has encouraged me to interact and get clarity and ask questions. I was blocked, banned, put in timeouts when I would ask on other channels. Yeah, see, I knew she was multitasking. His socks. That's a new one. Where's his socks? That's a new one to me. Like, oh yeah, she wants to know if you trained Irish setters, Leah. Morning, Lou. This is a show. Yep, exactly. But we will answer honest questions, sometimes talking about other creators that lie, because that's the importance of the facts. Exactly. She said a few, but not many. She's done a few, but not many. Didn't Jen say in 911 she believed him not alive? I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen. It's possible, but once again, he was out in the snow, and if Karen at that point had said to Jen, screaming, I think I hit him, did I hit him? You would have known that he had been out there for a long time at that point. Yeah, another incorrect rumor. Yep, she did. She said there was a lot of blood. So, once again. All right, I'm going to wrap this up soon, guys. I think it's unlikely for that one. I'm trying to get to all the comments, but I feel like they're never ending. So I'm doing the best I can. Yes, the ground is most likely. You are absolutely right, Maestro. Yeah, bedroom time. Like, the Diary of a Wimpy Sewer Turtle. That's it. He doesn't get it. He hasn't watched before. So you just, once again, the rush to judgment and the rush to think you know what you're talking about when you do it. That's half the problem with this case. You know? That's the thing. Like, the devastation, right? The devastation. Yes, please do hit the like button. Partial impact, not full on impact. Yes. Well, that she ran straight to him. Straight to him. Is that what he says? 3 liters except that's a proven false assertion. Like, oh yeah, you are going to be shocked to know how much your car knows. That's for sure. Yeah, I think that's when you said that, like, it decreases volume. It decreases volume and then it interrupts your, like, car, and it goes beep, 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 beep. My sister's car doesn't interrupt the music, but it beeps louder. Like, yeah, dude, a lot apparently. Like, we knew your phone knew a lot, but your car, they know what time your butt got off that seat, what time your seatbelt came off, like, Well, but that's, again, that assertion that it was shoddy or awful. I'm not saying everything was done the way it should be, but, like, to say it was shoddy or awful, I think is a little bit of a stretch. And I think that's something that's just been perpetuated by false assertions since the beginning. We now know that they've used snowblowers in mass in other cases to find evidence. This is not the only case they've used it in. So we now know that, number one. Number two, like, this was a small town. They haven't had a murder in like 25 years. And, you know, they just aren't equipped to deal with what they did. They did the best with what they had, but it doesn't change the data. It does not change Karen's car data. It doesn't change John's phone data. It doesn't change the pieces of taillight in his clothes. That changes nothing. It doesn't change anything. I don't think any of the things that they did or didn't do changes the actual evidence that shows she did it. You know, it doesn't, it just doesn't. Like, that's another thing. Why are you jumping on top of him? Like, I guess to warm him up, but like, what? Like, maybe getting him to the hospital would have been the smartest idea. Like, yeah, when you get out of the car, they lied. They knew where the dog was, and I knew they lied because even I knew where the dog was. So, and that was back when I was FKR. So they damn well knew where that dog was, and I knew they were lying. And I said it at the time. They declined also going down there this time. They knew where the dog was the entire time. They did that so that they could have like plausible deniability. Like, oh, well, where's the dog? They knew exactly where that dog was. John, was that you? Yeah. See, that's the thing. Yeah, though they don't now they don't even want to see the mold of her mouth, right? Now they don't. Nope, we don't even need that, right? Right? I would love Alexis too. Like, shit. Like, you know, I wish. Like, I wish. You know, you're never gonna see grieving crime cricket. She doesn't show any of that. Sorry, I'm gonna move my leg up because I'm uncomfortable in my chair. My leg. There was some pieces found on the road. I don't know if they were the bigger pieces, or the smaller pieces, but there were pieces. They were, yeah, the ones not on the road were pushed by the snow plow. Needs a steak. Unless he needs a steak. You know, Alma, my magic 8 ball says they will. Yeah. Andrea Burkhart is the biggest source of disinformation on blood not seeping into the ground. Really? She did it in Delphi trial and she's doing it now. That's gross. I don't know why you would do that. Also, I have no love lost for her. I think some of the things she says she knows are completely false, and the fact that she's still saying them just disgusts me. You know, Jennifer Dulos murder, her car was abandoned, the data recovered, her phone reconnecting to it hours later, her phone or body was never found. Oh, that's sad. Melon Little says shoe was just found a few months ago. Now she says it's not his hat. Oh, I literally can't. She also said his belt was missing and it wasn't. All of that lies as per usual. All of it lies. Like, oh, Tom Tom's doing the shoe and hat thing too. Dude, they just never stop. It's insane to me. Like, there's literal evidence. Like, what do you mean, dude? It's his shoe. They brought it to the hospital that same day. Okay. The hat is his hat, right? The belt, never missing. Melanie Little told everyone it was missing. Was never missing. Okay. The shoe, never missing. It is his shoe. They showed it in the last trial. They said when they got it. It's like they just completely ignore any and all evidence. Like, I can't with that. Like, yeah, socks. Now it's socks. His socks are on his feet. We have pictures of him on the gurney with the socks on his feet. Like, what? I can't. Like, yeah, your mind should spin, especially when it doesn't line up with what her defense attorneys are saying, right? You just don't. Like, it's an impression. It's an impression of the diary of a wimpy sewer turtle. She's like a little kid, you know? Like, that's what he is. Oh, I know. I was in rare form that day, but like, he's like a whiny kid. Like, right? Like, he's like a whiny kid who wants to whine and bitch about his information and his stuff while he disseminates everybody else's. It's just amazing to me. Like, maybe it is and maybe it isn't, you know? Oh, have a good day, Joy. It's about everything surrounding case. That's why she's answering every question. She does not skip one, good or bad. Oh, you're welcome. It's return bank. It's mocking the turtle, and I'll keep mocking the turtle because he's a horrible human being, a horrible, awful human being. No, we don't want to keep him. You guys can have him over there. Oh, that was a good one. The troopers did go in the house. They went in the house that morning. The Canton PD went in the house that morning. It's always good to see her. Yep, didn't look mortally wounded. All right, I'm going to try to skip past some of these. Oh, I'm going to have to listen to it later. No, it's not usually easier because I tend to like to interact with even ones that aren't questions, that are just statements, because it sort of, reminds me of like something that I need to talk about or something that people haven't addressed in a while that I want to address. So I kind of like it even when it's not a thing. Oh, Amy. Her name is Amy. Yep, her name is Amy. And she's a witness against him. So that was really stupid. Like, that was really dumb. All right, I'm going to skip some of these. I'm sorry, you guys. Got to get down to the bottom. Well, she admitted, Carrie, looking for the phone. She said something in the documentary where she was trying to get his phone out of his pocket. Right? Like, oh, I know, I am. It's just like uncomfortable. Just my body is very uncomfortable. Yeah. I do my best for as long as I possibly can. But today I have some things I got to get done. So I'm going to try to wrap this up today. Maybe I'll try to pop on tonight if there's time, because I cut you guys short today. It doesn't look like I have any donos to read. I just want to make sure I'm not skipping anyone. Also, you guys need to go check out the Boston Globe article that's up and read that, I guess. I haven't read it yet, but I'm hearing it's good. So yeah, he doesn't care about that. He goes after any child. It has no heart, honestly. Like, it's amazing to me, but that's just the truth. All right. I love your stinking faces. Per usual, if you are on my replay crew, I will interact with you guys in the comments. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please like and subscribe, and make sure you change the bell notification to all. You can also join our Discord. We have a Discord, and I'll pop in there later, see if there's any interest in a voice chat there. We can talk about the article. I'll read it and we can talk about that. So I think Freak can put it in the chat, the link to the Discord. If anybody on the replay crew or anybody here donates, I will read it. When I'm not live anymore, I will read it tomorrow morning. Obviously, as I always do. I love your stinking faces. Make sure you hit the like, the subscribe. And if you want to donate to the channel, this is the information right here at the bottom of the screen. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. We would really appreciate it. We're just a small channel, as you guys can see. So we only get by on donations from our viewers. And we appreciate the support from all of you guys. I love your faces, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.